Yahoo Sports Fantasy Football Live is presented by Popeyes and powered by Ram Trucks.
It's the most okay, I can't even sing it. It's not the most wonderful time of the year, but I will tell you, it's playoff time where all of your friends get to do their best impression of playoffs. We are there for the Fantasy Football Playoffs, Week 15 for Fantasy Football Live. You know the crew at this point. Matt Harmon, Andy Behrens, I'm Jason Fitz. I'm disappointed in my teammates because, I will show you. I got my Christmas sweater on. I got a little scarf. I got a little carrot. You guys, no Christmas sweater. Like, I don't know what we're doing here, gentlemen. I thought the standard is the standard. Last week I was Grinchmas. This week I bring you Frosty the Snowman. Andy Behrens, you bring me nothing. You bring me plaid. What am I supposed to do with plaid?
Listen, I got a full Christmas backdrop here. I got a Rudolph over one shoulder. I got a tree over the other shoulder. I'm festive over here. I got like one sweater in the arsenal, and I'm breaking it out next week. So you're gonna have to wait on that.
Matt Harmon, do you have anything festive behind you?
I have a little hat. A little hat from the Sturgill Simpson album. I'd have decorated for Christmas. I mean, hey, let me tell you what. If there's a camera around the rest of the house, this place is Christmas out, okay? Not enough decorations here. I don't want to disturb the ecosystem of my backdrop, okay? So this is what you get. You get the little hat. Not with Andy. I don't have like 15 Christmas sweaters like you do, Fitz, for every day leading up to the holiday. I've got one for the show next week. You'll see it then.
If you think I only have 15 Christmas sweaters, you don't know me. And that doesn't even count the Christmas Funko Pops. I do like the hat. Also, the hat came back for Harmon this week, too. So I feel like this is good. We are set up. You guys can get involved in the show. Hashtag AskFFL. It is super simple. We will take you all the way up to Thursday Night Football kickoff. You know what's coming tonight. It's epic. It's the game of the century. It might be the worst Thursday Night Football game ever. We have the Chargers at 5-8 taking on my beloved Raiders at 5-8. Somehow, some way, the Raiders are favored by 3. The over-under on this one is 35. And one of the most significant parts of why that over-under is going to be questionable are the inactives in this game. If you thought it couldn't get any worse for these teams, might have. Keenan Allen is inactive for this game. Devontae Adams had an illness, missed some time this week, but he will be active. Josh Jacobs is inactive. So, unfortunately, as someone that was, let me just say this, I know we'll get to what we're watching here, gentlemen, but I'm just going to be honest with America. We were talking about this as we came in. I was there at Allegiant Sunday. I sat through a 3-0 game, and by the second quarter, Andy Behrens, I was just rooting for 0-0. I just wanted to see a historic tie. Like, as someone that has viewed that, I'm not sure what the heck we're supposed to keep an eye on tonight.
I've actually been there in Iowa games previously where you're thinking, wow, can this thing really go scoreless for the duration? So I definitely hear you.
All right, so Matt, let's be a beacon of light in a dark, dark world because it is the playoffs. People still got to find a way to get something out of this. Give me something that you're looking for in this one.
I actually don't know if what I'm about to say counts as a beacon of light, but I'm actually keeping my eye on the Davante Adams frustration meter because, listen, this guy is one of the best receivers. I don't even think he's just one of the best receivers of this era. I think he's maybe one of the best receivers to ever play the game. He's a fantastic route runner. He's certainly still, I think, at the top of his game. Like, I watched Davante Adams in isolation. Like, I chart his routes. I don't think there has been any significant drop-off in his game, but I think there's been a significant rise in his frustration with this situation. I mean, I saw the video of him walking off the field last week and just looking completely, I think he's beyond dejected at this point. Look, there was a moment where getting rid of Josh McDaniels, the energy vampire, was kind of a boost to Adams and everybody around him, but I think those times have come and gone. Like, he wants to win football games. So, I mean, I think he could be heavily involved in the offense or trying to get him heavily involved, but it's still a struggle because of the quarterback situation. So I'm curious if this is the final few weeks we're going to see of Davante Adams in a Raiders uniform, and then we start to wonder, where is he next year? Please, not the Jets. Where is he next year? And I think that we could be then having an interesting conversation.
Yeah, there's going to be a weird history book written about the fact that 2 years of Davante Adams and 2 years of greatness from Max Crosby has been wasted by this era of the Raiders. All right, I'll give you something I'm looking for, but I will be a beacon of light. only because everybody's been texting me all afternoon trying to figure this one out. Zamir White is going to play running back tonight because, as we mentioned, Josh Jacobs is out. Now, White is somebody that was drafted out of Georgia that they had some high expectations for. The previous regime did. In fact, they thought at one point he'd be so good that it would lead for them not to have to re-sign Josh Jacobs. That turned out not to be true. This is the first real test for his first start in the NFL, his first real opportunity. Now, I'd love to sit here and tell everybody that means he's going to get huge usage, huge numbers, but I would also like to remind everybody that the Raiders' offensive line is an abject disaster. I'm not sure the three of us wouldn't start in the interior of that line if we moved to Vegas today. So Zamir White is going to have a challenge from the outset like Josh Jacobs has had. However, it is a player to watch. He will get the bulk of the carries, obviously. I just don't know if that will result in any points. Andy Behrens, give us something you're watching for in this one.
It's Easton Stick will be directing an offense in which the top receiving weapons are Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer. So get ready for fireworks in this one. I'm just gonna unload the notebook and tell the people everything that I know about Easton Stick, North Dakota State Bison legend. And then the people can decide for themselves if they think it's actionable. Stick, as he reminded us this week, was the winningest quarterback in FCS history when he left North Dakota State in 2018. He was the guy who followed Carson Wentz. He's 28 years old, so this isn't a kid learning on the job. Stick was a dual threat guy at the FCS level. He rushed for over 600 yards in 3 different seasons. We didn't see that component of his game a week ago, but it's in there somewhere. Obviously, it's one thing to like run all over Northern Iowa, and it's quite another thing to run all over, Max Crosby and the Raiders defense. So I don't think that's going to happen necessarily. The scouting reports will tell you that Stick's arm strength isn't ideal, but he did throw a dime to Johnston last week that traveled about 60 yards in the air. So maybe he's a different guy now. Sometimes we see people pick up velocity in their pro career. Ultimately, obviously, Easton Stick is not playable. We just need him to support this offense. We just need him to find Austin Eckler 8-10 times on checkdown, something like that, to keep him viable through the fantasy playoffs.
Do we need that? I don't know if we need that, Andy. I'm just saying, by the way.
Does. At least one of us does.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But nice pull on Northern Iowa. Great jazz department for everybody that doesn't know that. There's a fun fact you didn't need. All right, let's make some people some money here. It's time to bring in the props. You know the deal. We find props that we like, and, I have absolutely no faith in any of us not bringing in a kicker prop. But I will give you an actual real prop here. This one, usually I've been parlaying. I'm getting fancy. I'm getting simple. I think that I know my favorite team pretty well. There's an easy prop for me on this one, and it's Hunter Renfrow. The over on this one is 25.5 receiving yards. What's interesting to me is Vegas has been slow to respond to the uptick in production for Hunter Renfrow in the new regime. I understand that he was lost and he was part of witness protection under Josh Jacobs, but that has not been the case. In fact, he's hit the over on this 3 of the last 4 games, had a big game until a fumble that obviously cost the Raiders points in the last game. He is getting himself open, and it's obvious that Aiden O'Connell is comfortable with him. So given the fact that Aiden O'Connell has built up some rapport with him, and given the fact that I don't think the Raiders are going to have time to heave the ball deep in this game, Hunter Renfrow is going to be a big part of it. 25.5 feels like a pretty solid number from somebody that's going to get a lot of catches. That's one stands out for me a lot, I'm saying generously. Matt, give us something you got an eye on there.
Man, I like that Hunter Renfrow prop. I wish I had thrown that in a couple of my parlays before this show. But I will talk about one that I universally did put in all of my parlays. And Andy talked about Easton Stick as a rusher. I'm taking the over on 19.5 rushing yards for the Chargers starting quarterback. Austin Eckler on Eckler's Edge this week was adamant that Stick can scoot, baby. He's got some gas. And like Andy said, you haven't seen it in the NFL. He has just 1 carry for -2 yards in his NFL career. But some of these numbers from the NFL scouting combine, I mean, at 224 pounds, this guy ran a 4.62, 98th percentile 3-cone drill, 97th percentile 20-yard shuttle. I mean, in the preseason, I went and looked this up. In 3 games, 3 starts, 11 carries, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long run of 21 yards. So while we haven't seen it in the regular season, we've seen some of this, dare I say, freaky 98th percentile 3-cone drill. I mean, my God, we've seen that on the NFL field before. This is almost a preseason game tonight, so maybe we see it in this one.
Yeah, and not a lot of time to prepare for it either. You guys are like leading me straight to the bottle in this game. This is not going to go well for me. Andy Barrett, what do you got your eye on in this one?
Well, I am pleased to report that I am not taking a kicker prop this week, so you guys can remain on set. You can stay mic'd up and all that. I'm gonna go Aiden O'Connell and Easton Stick combined for under 394.5 passing yards. I love this wager. On the Chargers side, we're basically down to junior varsity receivers, right? With Keenan out, with Mike Williams on IR. Stick last week completed 13 of 24 attempts. Not great, had a couple of fumbles. On the Raiders side, we have a situation in which the head coach was super non-committal about O'Connell and his QB situation entering the week. So O'Connell could pretty clearly get yanked at some point in this game. I think that's in play. Also, Devontae, he's been sick all week, didn't practice. O'Connell passed for just 171 last week in that terrible Vikings game. So with a game total of like 34.5, 35 points, I don't think we're going to see very many passing yards in this one.
As we look at this picture that is up right now, I would like to remind the entire world of two things. Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick is a national game tonight. And look at these two guys. Like, at some point, you have to look at them and say, those are two starting quarterbacks in the NFL today. Like, that is whenever we think starting quarterbacks, like, usually have that swaggy, sort of like, good look like they're straight out of being models. Easton Stick, Aiden O'Connell, I don't know. They're bringing it different. That's all I have to say about that. All right, let's move along now. Time to take a look at our fantasy game changers for this week, powered by Ram Trucks. You know what we do here. We give you a word that we associate with the Ram truck and a player that we associate with that same word, kind of like password. We will give Andy the first word, and the word is luxurious. Luxury. What do you got for us?
Yeah, listen, Jordan Love has been a luxury on a couple of my rosters. One of them in which I lost Joe Burrow, the other in which I lost Justin Herbert fairly recently. Love is not coming off his best game, I'll give you that, although he did lead a fourth quarter comeback against the Giants. In his previous three, he beat the Chiefs, he beat the Lions, he beat the Chargers. He has 11 touchdown passes in his last 5 games. Plus, he gives you just a dash of rushing upside. This week, it's a Bucs defense that's allowed the 3rd most passing yards in the league and the 4th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They also just gave up a huge game to Desmond Ridder, so I think Jordan Love can get them. It is a beatable matchup for Love. I think he's going to smash in it. Hopefully, he gets either Christian Watson or Aaron Jones or both back in the mix. It looks more promising for Jones, but even without him, he's a very strong play in Week 15.
I love that. All right, I'll give you a word that I got was powerful, and this one for me is pretty simple. I owe a powerful apology to Raheem Mostert, who's taking on the Jets this week, the Dolphins running back, and I feel like through the course of this season is somebody that has Mostert and Achane in several of my leagues. I feel like every week I've looked at it and said, this is the week that Raheem starts to reduce his load. This is the week that he starts to become less reliable, and it just hasn't happened. They find interesting ways to get him the football. He has become a powerful option for the Dolphins because even though they have a million ways they can go with the ball consistently, he has become a consistent scorer. I'm winning games, winning leagues, winning competitions by picking Mostert repeatedly. That's all I have to say about that for now. So I will give you powerful as Raheem Mostert. Matt's already just dreading when we get to our picks section. Matt, your word, premium. Like you, sir, are a premium addition to this show. Premium, who do you think of?
Just going to ignore that. I'm just going to put that to the side. Premium. When I think of premium, I think Puka Nacua. And listen, maybe you're like, okay, no duh. Yeah, I start Puka Nacua in my fantasy leagues. Yeah, okay. But I just want to make the point that this guy at this point does need to be considered a premium receiver in the league and a premium dynasty asset as well. I still see some people trying to talk themselves into a brain pretzel like, oh, maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba is still the #1 receiver in the class. Or, listen, I think sometimes I've maybe said it was Zay Flowers, and I think Zay could do it. But right now, Puka, what he's doing from just a production standpoint, of course, but like a film standpoint, this guy is unbelievable. That catch that he had with Matthew Stafford last week was outrageous, and you know the catch I'm talking about. It was one of those ones you saw live against the Ravens, and then you were like, man, I can't wait to watch that back on film if you're a big dork like me. And then I did it, and I was completely in love with what I saw. 85.5 yards per game. If he averages that over the next 4 weeks, he will catch Jamar Chase's rookie receiving yard record. So keep that on your little outlook there. But also, the Commanders this week, they allow the most passing yards and passing touchdowns in the league. Puka could get more than 85.5 receiving yards in this game alone.
Before we move on, Matt, like, because you do study so much of this from a grand spectrum, I saw a mock draft the other day that has 8 wide receivers going in the first round for next year, right? If you just mentioned the young wide receivers have become an easy thing to actually rely on, right?
Yeah, well, so much of the game, by the way, all that tells me is I'm gonna have a busy spring. that's all that tells me. Yeah, I am. Which, hey, I'm good. I'm thankful for the work. I love it. Nobody loves their work more than me. But seriously, I think that receivers now at this point, like, and people that play fantasy know this because there have been legit league winners down the stretch from rookie receivers over the last few years. And I mean, somebody could do it. Like Zay Flowers could be that guy this year. Puka's already doing it. It's because these guys come into the league so much more prepared than receivers did, several years ago, because 7-on-7 is a thing at younger ages because we're trying to keep the game safer, stuff like that. Like, these guys are running routes and like running pro level routes when they're like, 17, 16 years old, and they just get better and better and better at it. So yeah, like, these guys are more prepared than ever to come into the league to make an impact for NFL teams. And of course, obviously all of your fantasy teams out there.
Yeah, start studying those wide receivers coming out. Politnikoff Award voter, humble brag here. It was tough this year. No matter what you're looking for in a light-duty truck, the 2023 Ram 1500's got you covered. Score yours at ram.com. All right, we're going to help you guys. We're going to help you guys make some tough flex decisions with multiple players submitted by you, incredible people. It's Make Your Pick. We mentioned it earlier. Hashtag AskFFL is a great way to get in on the conversation. Andy, we'll let you take the first one. The first one comes from Raymond, and Raymond asks us to pick 2. Raymond says Dameon Pierce, Aaron Jones, Darren Waller, Jerry Jeudy. All right, what do you think, Andy?
Oof. Yeah, you can't go Dameon Pierce, not after last week. He really took a backseat to Singletary, so he's out for me. I think you got to hope that Aaron Jones is going to go. Now, he returned to practice last week, and he's been practicing this week, so that's a really good sign. So let's just bank on him playing, and then I would be kind of wait and see with Darren Waller. You think he's going to come back from IR? It's great news, but that's kind of a spin the wheel passing game. So I'm going to go Jerry Jeudy here by default against a Lions defense that is very beatable.
I know you didn't just throw shade at Tommy Cutlets. I mean, I don't know what we're doing here anymore. All right, question number 2 comes from Mendel, who says, make your pick for 2 flex spots. Pittman, Walker III, Zay Flowers, Likely, or G. Davis. These are for the quarterfinals. Now that we know the gravity of the situation, Matt Harmon, what do you got?
Yeah, good. I was thinking about mailing in this question, but now I know to take it seriously. Honestly, I really do think the 2 options are actually pretty clear to me, and it's Michael Pittman, who is just, this guy's a top 12 receiver on the season. You shouldn't even be asking about start-sit questions with Michael Pittman anymore. He's one of your best picks. He's a reason that you're here asking these questions for the quarterfinals. And I think the other one, as I just mentioned, Zay Flowers. We saw last week that Zay Flowers got a little boost in his average depth of target, and he's already been dominating targets when Mark Andrews does not play. So yeah, I love what I'm seeing out of Zay Flowers. I think he's your other obvious choice there.
All right, let's get the next question up, and it comes from William, who says, pick 2, half PPR, Swift, Mitchell, CEH, McKinnon, and Foreman. What do you think, Andy?
I think I understand that you're disappointed in the recent production from DeAndre Swift, but you got to play him in this matchup against Seattle. It's great. Like, this should tilt toward the run. He should give you 80, 90 yards. Again, I don't know if he's going to be active at the goal line because that work goes to Jalen Hurts, but I think you're going to get a nice number from Swift. So I'm definitely starting him. And then I'm assuming that Isaiah Pacheco is not going to go. Like, we're on, here we are, it's Thursday. Pacheco hasn't practiced yet this week. So I think I'm going to play McKinnon there and hope for a little receiving goodness, a little bit of red zone goodness from him. Obviously, everybody remembers what he did last year in the final 6 weeks of the season. I don't know that he's going to repeat that exactly, but he's a pretty good bet to score.
All right, let's get the next question to Matt. From Matt. Maybe it's the same Matt. We don't know. Trying to fill 3 spots. Running back in 2 flex. Every week for the last month, I benched the wrong guy. I feel that all the way to my core, Matt. Deciding between Mostert, Achane, Hall, Chase, and Nakua. Which 2 would you bench this week? Good Lord, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, right. Number 1, that is not Charlie nor Peach in that profile picture. So this is not me. Yeah, the reason you've been choosing the wrong guy, quote unquote, is just because like these are all really good options. I think the Achane decision is going to be made for you. He is probably, I would say, not going to play in this game, or at the very least, I don't think you can trust him based on the injury, based on the usage. So he's the guy I'm going to bench here. Oh, man. I mean, that obviously makes Mostert like a guy you have to start here. So for the other 2 spots, I think Jamar Chase and I think Nakua are musts. look, the reality with Breece Hall is we are banking on those little dump off passes, design touches, sure, but a lot of it is the check down stuff. And Nathaniel Hackett at time has done that dump off stuff. He's gotten Breece Hall involved in the pass game, but I just feel so much more secure in the target share for a guy like Jamar Chase and a guy like Puka Nacua. Those are the two I'd go with over Breece Hall.
Let's get one more in here coming from John. John's going to ask the last one and says, Curtis Samuel, Josh Downs, Josh Palmer, Zay Jones. Pick 2 for me. Andy, pick 2.
Yeah, I'm going to steer clear of tonight's game and remove Josh Palmer from the equation. No, thank you. And I'm probably going to play Curtis Samuel in a game when, I mean, this is every week for Washington, basically, but they're putting the ball in the air 45, 50 times. So I like Samuel's chances there. And then I'm going to go Zay Jones, obviously without Christian Kirk. Tons of targets available to him. It's not a great matchup, obviously, against Baltimore, but just on workload alone, I want Zay. I wish it were the other Zay. I'll say that.
Yeah, so does everybody involved in that. All right, keep your questions coming. Hashtag AskFFL. We have plenty of help coming. In the meantime, one of our favorite podcasts that we're most proud of here is one that Matt's part of every single week, Eckler's Edge. And if we're talking to Austin Eckler, we had to talk to Austin about what life is going to be like without quarterback Justin Herbert. Here's a little portion of this week's show.
Just kind of give me your evaluation on Justin's season so far.
Yeah, man. I mean, well, first off, talking about the injury, I mean, this man is as tough as it gets. Man, I just admire him and how much he loves this game. And I tell him after, every game, I was just like how proud I am of him and his leadership and how he's continued to grow and be a leader on the field, man. Because when we're on the field and on game day, Justin, where it's like he comes alive, he's just in the huddle, he's commanding it, right? He's encouraging, he's everything you'd want in a leader. He's tough, gritty, making plays, all of it. Obviously sucks, to see him go down. We have Easton Stick coming in, and I'm excited for him to get his opportunity to show us what he can do, because I've seen him in scout teams, so that's great. But Justin just, he's been that. That's what he's been. All those things I just said about, that's what he's been this entire year. And he's been what we needed. Hey, give us a chance, man. He's making plays when we need him to make plays. I hope the best for Justin is health, obviously, first, getting his finger back on track. He feels bad. Like, man, he wants to be out there, and I know he wants to be out there. And so, Stick, let's go, man.
All right, it's time to sauce it up with 5 new flavors of wings from Popeyes. And you, the viewers, each week we get your bold fantasy takes on this week's hottest topics through social media. So this week's question, simple. Who will be a playoff hero or bust in the first round? Let's take a look at some of what we got from you guys. And the first one comes from EJ, who gave us a little gif here, by the way, of a bust as he looks at Najee and says, bust. Andy Behrens, Najee, going to be a bust?
I feel like he's looking back on Najee's season and he's disappointed, and he just wants to throw him under the bus a little bit, because man, he's got the Colts, then he's got the Bengals, then he's got the Seahawks. Like, these are plus matchups. These are friendly spots for Najee. He's held off Jaylen Warren in recent weeks. There was all that suspicion that Warren was going to take a greater share of the snaps, the workload, but it just really hasn't come to pass. I feel like expectations are so low for Harris right now that I'm not sure he can really bust so much as he can mildly disappoint you. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to find the end zone a couple times in the money weeks here.
All right, let's take a look at the next submission we got. This one came from Jane. Jane gave us a little gif of Eckler. Now, not really telling us whether it's going to be a bust or a hero. So, Matt, what do you think?
Man, it's tough. Tough. Look, you're the starting running back behind a bad offensive line. Easton Stick's leading the offense. I know Austin's confident in Easton Stick. I expect him to be confident in basically all of his teammates. And look, I hope he's right about Easton Stick. I hope he goes out there and tears it up. I'm definitely kind of like in the middle here. Now, the matchups down the stretch, obviously the Raiders defense, they can certainly give it up in the run and the pass game. We have the Broncos in week 17. We've seen Eckler tear up the Broncos for 100 yards and a touchdown last week. So that's, again, pretty plus matchup. The Bills, I think, great run defense, but if they get in a high-scoring affair, certainly Eckler can put up production. This is what I always say with guys like Eckler that have had disappointing stretches. I've said it with Cooper Kupp this year, too. Like, it can flip like that, right? Because we know they're good at the game. So I'm hoping that Eckler can certainly be a big-time playoff hero. Unfortunately, he's going to have to do it in the consolation bracket for me in the Eckler's Edge League. Too late, pal. I've already been eliminated in my own show's fantasy league because I drafted my co-host at the 4th overall pick. That's certainly one of many, many problems I created for myself, but had to get that off my chest.
I don't want to create beef for your show, but I'm absolutely rooting against everything you just said for tonight, although I think you're probably right. Ben coming in with the next one as we get the never thought I'd say this, but I need a hero. And he gives us Joe Flacco. Andy Behrens, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a little wish casting here, but you know, it's the holidays. It's seasonally appropriate. We have beatable matchups on deck. He's got Chicago this week, then he's got Houston. Despite the fact the Bears have improved defensively, certainly, and they are arguably the NFL's hottest team right now, but still, it's been a beatable matchup all year. Also, Flacco coming off a 300-yard game. He's thrown 5 touchdown passes in his 2 starts. Like, it looks good. I'll say this is very much in play, but you probably need to ditch him ahead of championship week. He gets the Jets there. I don't love that. Maybe it's a revenge game narrative, but that's still a pretty frisky secondary. So I would look to pivot when we get to week 17, but I think he can get you there.
Keep hearing comeback player of the year. So let's take a look at the next one. Michael Taylor coming in saying bust ... again with Zach Moss. Matt, what do you think?
Man, I don't know. Look, the reality here is Zach Moss has played 94 and 84% of the team snaps the last 2 weeks. In week 13, his first start in replacement of Jonathan Taylor against the Tennessee Titans, he touched the ball 21 times. And then he had another 17 touches, 8 targets last week. I mean, my God, you're not going to get opportunity much better than that at the running back position. JT's going to be out this week. We already know that. They're going to play on Saturday. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then they play the Falcons and they play the Raiders. We'll see how long Zach Moss starts for, but I mean, I get it. The moment you give up after hearing all of us fantasy analysts be like, but the opportunity, the process. This is when he's going to go off. Just be aware that that's probably what's going to happen.
Oh, I love the contrarian mindset. Let's get one more in here. Mike, don't call me Ricky Gervais, says hero with Taysom Hill, who I'm not going to lie, Andy. I mean, I've got him in one of my leagues. I've won some games I don't deserve to win because I've had Taysom Hill. So I see it here, but he says hero. What do you think?
Oh, I think this is the hero we need. I think this is the hero we deserve. Yes, absolutely. He is an ideal answer to anyone's tight end problems. He has been basically all year. He has every kind of touchdown to his credit this season, right? He's got a passing score, he's got rushing score, he's got a receiving score. He also handled 15 touches in his last game and like 9 the week before. That's like twice the volume that we would normally expect from any other player with tight end eligibility. It's kind of a cheat code. He's just a weird multi-tool of a player, right? It's pointless to look at matchups with this guy, and I love it. Yes, I'm fully on board with him as a hero.
Better to be lucky than good. He's made me lucky a few times. All right, remember to sauce up your game day with Popeye's Wings, now available in 5 new flavors, including signature hot and honey barbecue. Make it a combo. Cool things off with an ice-cold Coca-Cola, available now for pickup and delivery at Popeyes.com or, of course, through the Popeyes app.
Oh, hey, guys. I didn't expect you to be here. But since you are, I wrote a song for you. Feel free to sing along. I won this league. Now you see that you're never gonna live it down. I won this league. You should never turn your season around. I live rent free in your head all year round. I won this league. And now I run this town. And Andy Barrett, you might wanna learn to bow down. And Harmon, and Charmin, soft all around. 'Cause I won this league. 1, 2, 3, I won this league. Come on, sing it with me. I won won this league. Oh, I won this league. One more time. And I won this league. Yeah, boys.
Oh, it feels good. It's already done. It's been called. I am the champion. Oh, man, I can't believe this. FFL, I am the champion. 2023, it is all me. Matt is trying to say he can't hear any of us. I don't know what's happening. I just know that let's take a look at the final standings. Everything is all over. I broke this thing. And look, you could look at points because Matt Harmon did pretty well when you look at points. If you just took points into consideration, not bad. But the thing that counts here, gentlemen, is weeks 1. And now you have both been mathematically eliminated, and I am your champion. Andy, would you like to say anything in your concession speech?
First of all, I never act like I've been there before when I win a thing, so I applaud you. I think that was marvelous. I think you I don't know, that you handled your business the way you should. That was wonderful. I'm annoyed that I'm going to have that song in my head for maybe a day and a half. Don't need to hear it again, but it's in there now. I can conjure it up. I don't like that.
I'll send it to both of you. Matt, anything you'd like to say as you acknowledge my I don't want to say dominance, but since you did, in my mind, I'm just going to say dominance. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, 2 things. Number 1, as the leaderboard shows there, this is why best ball is God's game. Okay, number 1. Number 2, as my wife can attest, this is the time of the year because, Christmas songs are just drilled into your brain and they've been in there for years and it's hard to get them out. This is the time of year when I'm walking around the house just whistling like an idiot to a bunch of Christmas tunes. And now I'm going to be whistling Fitz won this league. I mean, it's tough. This is a tough break for me.
Well, you know what? I appreciate the sportsmanship and the gamesmanship, and whatever you guys want to send me my championship belt, that's fine too. We didn't really decide on a prize, but now we've decided on it. But we're still going to have some fun as I am your 2023 champion. But we can't stop drafting things. No point in drafting this because I would just take a bye the rest of the way. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the 3 Saturday games. And the wrinkle this week, we need 2 flex, and we have to draft a quarterback. So we're doing a little different, having a little bit of fun. These are players that we're high on, or you could think of in DFS and on Saturday only contests. We're going to go reverse standings, no snake, and that means, Andy, you get to pick first from the Saturday slate of games.
Yeah, well, I'm passing on the quarterbacks because that's a rough group. It's tough out there. I'm gonna go Jahmyr Gibbs. He just delivered 82 yards and a touchdown against Chicago. Played nearly 2/3 of the snaps. That was a really good sign. He's up to 45 receptions on the year, so he's going to finish with 60 plus. He's very close to 1,000 scrimmage yards on the season. The matchup here, obviously, ideal against Denver. They allow over 5 yards per carry on the season. They rank last in the league against the run. They allow the most fantasy points to running backs. I think Gibbs is the play. I think Monty's a great play too.
All right, so that means, Matt, you are up. Who are you taking in this one? Remember, reminder for everybody, the 3 Saturday games, we got Vikings, Bengals, we've got Steelers, Colts, and we've got Broncos, Lions. Go ahead, Matt. What do you got?
Yeah, listen, he said he's going to play. I believe him. Jamar Chase, I'll take him here at my 2nd overall spot. I mean, he's good at football. What more do you want me to say? He's Jamar Chase. He's probably, obviously Justin Jefferson's in the mix too. I think these guys are probably the premier players on the Saturday slate. I like what the Bengals are doing on offense right now, so I will go with Jamar Chase here.
Okay, so that puts me up, and I think it's important because I want to end up on the nice list this year, and I think Santa, when he looks at it and figures out who's naughty and nice, he likes somebody that admits when he was wrong. I was very wrong earlier this season when I said a lot of mean things about the Colts wide receiver core. They have absolutely exceeded every expectation I had. You mentioned earlier that Pittman he is the guy. He is a guy. He is one of those true number ones. I will take Pittman out of the gates here comfortably and say, hey, I've got a dynamic number 1 receiver that I can rely on that. So little credit to you guys. You were right. I was wrong about that. I mea culpa that by taking Pittman right now, who is obviously Harmon had to educate me on, which means, Andy, you are back because we're no longer Snake.
Hey, I wonder if Santa likes it when somebody wins a trivial contest and then writes a 5-minute song about it. Well, I guess we'll never know.
Doubt it.
It's only a minute. It's only a minute. I might do the extended version. Go ahead.
And it felt like 5,
All
7,
all set.
9, something like that. I'm going to go Justin Jefferson here. Matt talked about it. I mean, anytime you can snag Nick Mullins' top target, you pretty much got to do it. I thought Jefferson looked good for the second that he was on the field before he got injured last week. He's going to play. He's Justin Jefferson. It's a great matchup against the Bengals. They give up almost 8 yards per attempt on the season. Great spot, great player. Give me Jefferson.
All right, Harmon, you are up.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to call up the leaderboard again, but if you remember the numbers that we showed when we showed the leaderboard earlier, Andy Behrens had very few points. Yeah, let's actually pull that up here. Thank you, producers.
Yeah, okay.
456.8 points, just 3 wins. I mean, if you folks are not that good at math at home, that's 100 points fewer Andy Behrens scored than the rest. More than 100 points fewer than Andy Behrens scored than the rest of us here. So I'll just note here for the scientific reason for taking my next pick is that clearly Andy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. All right, he is often wrong. So yeah, I'll be taking David Montgomery here because if Andy's picking Jahmyr Gibbs, it's a David Montgomery smash week this week.
But keep in mind that if this was the NFL, Andy would have been in the hunt column the entire way. He wasn't that far back. I mean, it just didn't work out. All right, so
Congratulations, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Another podium finish for me.
While we are busy trolling Andy, I will join in on that because now that I've taken Michael Pittman, I feel like the only thing I can do here is take Sam Laporta. I'm taking Sam Laporta just so that Andy Behrens has to root against Sam Laporta for the course of this game. This is a natural fit. If you have watched this show all year and you took a shot every time Laporta's name was said by Andy Behrens, you died somewhere around week 6. So I feel like the right thing to do is to take him here. So Andy, that puts you back up on the clock.
You better know that I am not rooting against Sam Laporta this week or any week. I've got him active in, 14 different matchups, something like that. So I am with you on Team Laporta. Certainly, it's great to have you on board. There's plenty of room on the bandwagon still. I now have to take a quarterback because it was required by the silly rules of this contest, and there are no good ones to choose from. It's a total rogues gallery. I'm going to go Russell Wilson. He is, there's actually no one who's active on Saturday who's in my top 12 at the position in the ranks this week, but whatever. Russ is having a pretty weird season in a weird career, right? He only throws the ball like at the line of scrimmage or deep downfield. Everything is strange about it, but he's got 23 touchdown passes and he gets the Lions defense. That's been super friendly.
All right, so Matt, who are you taking?
I'm not even sure what this competition is even for. I mean, what are we doing here at this point? The game is over. But since we are required to take a quarterback, I'll take Jake Browning. Like I mentioned, why not just stack him up with Jamar Chase here? But I like what the Bengals are doing on offense, okay? I mean, especially in the screen game. And I think that's going to be important against this Vikings defense that blitzes more than anyone else in the NFL. Brian Flores loves to heat quarterbacks up, but the Bengals have shown that they have a screen game that can beat some of these blitzing packages. Chase Brown and Joe Mixon have 80 and 79 yards on screen passes alone the last 2 weeks, respectively. So I think they have some beaters in place for some of these blitzes that Brian Flores is going to be throwing at them.
And that puts me back up on the clock to take a quarterback. I'm either going to have to take the mustache man or I'm going to have to look over and take Goff. I'll take Goff here, just presuming that, at some point this has to normalize. I can't believe he's as bad as he's been the last couple of weeks. And after he throws 6 touchdowns to Laporta in this contest, I feel like that's going to be the benefit for me. So a little bit of trust there on Goff, considering the fact that we have more offensive weapons here listed that Goff can throw the ball to, obviously, throughout the course of this draft. We'll keep you updated on how this one plays out because, this is the consolation. This is like the loser's bracket. I've already won the whole thing. Let's not get it twisted. But this loser's bracket exercise will still be fun. Most fun will be my trash talking for the course of the year. Each week, Sal Vetri gets us unique fantasy advice here on the show. It's time to check back in with Sal now for his 7 key findings for week 15.
These are the 7 key findings that'll help you win your Week 15 fantasy matchup. Finding number 1 is the best spot of the week. And this is for Rachaad White, who's coming off of his 3rd straight game of over 100 total yards, and he's had the best usage in football the last 2 games. He's playing nearly 90% of the Bucs snaps and averaging 26 opportunities per game, and his recent success should only continue this week. White will face a Packers defense that allows the most production to opposing running backs this year. They just gave up 100+ yards and 2 touchdowns to Saquon Barkley. Finding number 2 is the sketchy spot of the week, and this is for James Conner, who the last time we saw him in week 13, he saw his best usage since getting injured. Connor played 76% of the snaps, earned 26 opportunities on his way to a 25-point fantasy day. That is all fantastic, but now he returns from the bye as a 13-point underdog against the 49ers. San Francisco allows the fewest rushing yards to opposing teams this year, and James Conner might be at risk at losing some passing game work. Because in week 12, when the Cardinals were trailing big to the Rams, we saw Michael Carter see some more passing game usage than James Conner. Finding number 3 is the pickup in play of the week. And this is for Noah Brown, which it might seem strange since he had a dazzling 0 points last week. But he had a lot of things working against him. It was a tough matchup, the weather was terrible, and CJ Stroud got hurt later on in that game. But now Noah Brown might be lining up to be the number 1 receiver for this team because Tank Dell's done for the year and Nico Collins is dealing with injury. In 2 games earlier this season without Nico Collins, we saw Brown average over 160 yards per game as he was used much more downfield. And he'll face the Titans in 2 out of his next 3 games, who allow the most production to outside wide receivers. Finding number 4 is something to watch. And this is Zay Flowers' usage because he returned from the bye week in week 14 and things changed. Through his first 12 games, Flowers' average depth of target was just 8 yards downfield. After he returned from his bye in week 14, this increased by 50% as he earned more downfield usage, which helped him put up a strong 15-point fantasy day. The volume has always been there. He's earned 20% of the Ravens' targets in 10 out of his 12 games, so now if this downfield usage stays consistent, you have a league winner on your hands. Finding number 5 is a player who is trending down. And this is for Roschon Johnson, and here's the deal. In week 12, we saw him see a season-high 75% of the snaps, and then he went into his bye week. We said add him and see what happens. Well, now after what we saw in week 14, we could officially say he's trending down because Deontay Foreman returned from injury and took over this backfield, playing 56% of the snaps. And this was the first time since week 1 that Chicago had all 3 of their running backs healthy, and we saw Roschon see just 27% of the snaps. Now, in games where the Bears are trailing, we might see some more Roschon snaps, but it's not going to be anywhere near what we saw in week 12 when he was a workhorse back. Finding number 6 is a player who is trending up. And this is for the Jaguars wide receiver Zay Jones, who's seen his usage slowly increase since returning from injury in week 11. We saw him hit a season-high 93% of the routes run in week 13, but part of this game was without Trevor Lawrence. However, in week 14, Trevor Lawrence returned, there was no Christian Kirk, and Zay Jones had a season-high and team-high 14 targets. He's now averaging over 9 targets per game in the 3 games that he's been able to be out there as a full-time receiver and healthy. And he's trending up at the right time because he has a solid schedule. He'll get the Ravens struggling secondary, the Bucks, and then the Panthers. Finding number 7 is a rookie on the rise. And this is for the Bengals rookie running back Chase Brown, who returned from an injury in week 13 and was immediately involved in the offense. Brown earned 9 carries in that game, which was 6 more than any other backup behind Mixon had this year. And then his usage in week 14 only got better as he played twice as many snaps and turned 11 opportunities into 105 yards and a touchdown. Look, this 5th-round rookie is known for his athleticism and ability to produce. He had nearly 1,900 yards last year in college and had over 100 total yards in 83% of his game. He is one of the best handcuffs in fantasy football that you need to add, and he's a flex option against Minnesota this week. These have been the 7 key findings that'll help you win your matchup this week. All you have to do now, as always, is take this information and use it to smack around your competition.
All right, Sal, got to ask you, I'm fiercely loyal when it comes to these things, and I'm afraid to change. Like, if I've got a roster that's got me there, I hate making change. So what's the right strategy in your mind when you do hit this playoff time and you realize there might be a gem out there, but you've also got guys that have gotten you to the dance?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to go about it. Some people like to look ahead and maybe pad your roster, get a bunch of backup running backs if something happens. I don't think that's a bad idea, but a lot of times we can overthink it. You don't get there unless you win this week. And one thing that I think goes under the radar when it comes to fantasy playoffs is your opponent. See what's happening right now when we're in the middle of some injuries. People like Nico Collins, Brian Robinson might not play this week. Is there a way you could actually block your opponent? Because in that case, it's worth dropping a backup running back to pick up maybe a wide receiver who can get 10 points so your opponent can't get him.
That is a level of conniving that I love every single second of. Like, see, this is why Sal, and I'm just sitting here saying I should have thought of that. Okay, let's bring the guys in, have a little bit of fun with some play calling. We'll figure out how to answer some of your questions out there as you guys hit us up, #AskFFL. We'll get everybody involved in this. I love the Harmon smile. Harmon just doesn't look happy enough right now. I just need to. All right, so let's get Harmon that gets the first question then from Michael. Much better. Michael gives us our first question. Stephon Diggs, Rashee Rice, Breece Hall, or Nico Collins if he plays. I know, but Diggs has been pretty bad recently, and both Rice and Hall are coming off good games, and it's first round of the playoffs. Man, Harmon, he gave you a full dissertation on that. What do you say?
Yeah, thank God this isn't in the hurry up section later on. But yeah, no, look, I'm sad. Actually, you're trying to make me happy, and I'm sad that Nico Collins is reminding me that he's not going to play because that one does hurt me personally. I do think Diggs is the right answer here. You know, the targets were there last week. It was always going to be a difficult spot. against the Chiefs. They use L'Jarius Sneed to shadow top receivers around. They've taken away top receivers in games recently. So that wasn't too surprising. And I really think, like, look, Stephon Gilmore's a good player. He's a solid player. He kind of had, I would say, a draw matchup with A.J. Brown last week, and A.J. Brown still had 94 yards. So I think that's a pretty solid spot for Stephon Diggs. And if he gets lined up against Deron Bland at all, we know that he can be taken advantage of by good route runners. So I think I'd go back to Diggs there.
All right, let's go to Andy Behrens next with the next question coming from Mr. Downs. Very formal. Godwin or McBride in the flex to replace Keenan Allen? I'm sure a lot of people are looking for a replacement here. What do you think, Andy?
Oh, yeah, this is a sad one. Really rough end. Not that this is the end for Keenan Allen this season, but man, he is having like the best year of his career. Really too bad. But you have a great option here in Trey McBride. He can't miss in the last month or so. This is like 28 catches for him over the last 4 weeks. He's been an absolute target magnet. Yes, it's a difficult matchup against San Francisco. We wouldn't expect the Cardinals to put up some huge total, but man, the volume has absolutely been there. They're using him in pretty inventive ways. So I definitely want McBride here.
All right, Sal, we're going to give you a tough one here because Robert chimes in, and Robert says, I'm all confused here. Can you help me with the flex play in my 14-teamer PPR league? Note, the league gives 0.25 per carry. He asked a question mark afterwards. Dante Foreman, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, or CEH if Pacheco is out. Thanks. That's a lot of info. All right, Sal, what are you doing with that?
Yeah, so here's the deal. I'll put a little disclaimer. If you're projected to win in your league by like 15 to 20 plus points, I just go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You get that extra quarter of a point per carry, 12 to 15 touches probably as a 10-point favorite. But without that type of context, I'll take the best player here in Terry McLaurin. Coming out of the bye week, had 0 points before the bye week. Sam Howell only threw 23 times. Weird game. The Dolphins controlled the ball a ton in that one. But now he has a better matchup, 7-point underdog. You should see these Commanders throw 40 plus times like they usually are doing. The Rams, they just gave up 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns last week to the Ravens. So I'll go with McLaurin if you're not a decent sized favorite this week.
All right, Matt, you get the next one. And Randy broke a cardinal rule here. He double-barreled this question. You get 2 questions in one. Tua or Stafford and Puka or Waddle, PPR 12 team. Randy, that's 2 questions. Now I got to throw both of them to Matt.
Well, I'm going with the Rams, and both of them. Look, the matchup is so good against the Washington Commanders, who are 32nd since week 7 in dropback EPA allowed. They allow the most passing yards, passing touchdowns in the league. You know, Tua and Waddle both coming off kind of slow games. Waddle just really hasn't been that type of producer this season. I wonder when we're going to start asking questions about his dynasty rankings, like industry-wide. I think that it might be time to ask those questions. Meanwhile, Puka, like I said earlier in the show, is just an incredible player. He's so important in that Rams offense. And Matthew Stafford leads the NFL the last 3 weeks with 10 touchdown passes. I think it's actually pretty clear that I'm going with the 2 Rams guys here.
All right, let's get one more. We're going to put this one over to Sal because Andy Behrens hates questions where people qualify things. Midwest sports fan. Got to choose between Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts. See, the last few games for Hurts make me lean toward Purdy, even though I think Hurts typically has a higher point ceiling. So he's giving you all that explanation, Sal. What do you got?
Yeah, I agree. The last couple of weeks make you want to lean to Purdy, but I'm still going Jalen Hurts. He's my highest projected quarterback for this week. Yeah, the previous weeks, Jalen Hurts had brutal matchups, both when it comes to pressure and the secondary in the Cowboys and the 49ers. That changes this week. The Seahawks, decent defensive line, but secondary, not really there. They play a lot of zone defense, upwards of right now top 3, if not the highest heading into this week in the entire league. And how can you beat that? Well, some wide receivers who can get open and run good routes. They have that. A good tight end and a pass-catching running back. Maybe this is the week we see DeAndre Swift get going. I think the offense sets up nicely here. And if that's the case, it means Jalen Hurts is too. So I'll go with Hurts.
We are not done helping you guys. Hashtag AskFFL. We still have speed round to go throughout the course of this show as we go all the way up to kickoff of Thursday Night Football. But got to take a quick break here on Fantasy Football Live. When we come back, I know I'm a champion, but even I need the guys' help. So we have our own tough spots as the fantasy playoffs begin, trying to figure out who goes where. We'll get that done next. All right, let's take a look at the injury report coming out of practice today. Some notable injuries everybody's got their eye on will impact your lineups this weekend. Nico Collins with the calf didn't practice. Godwin with the knee didn't practice. C.J. Stroud remains in concussion protocol. Chris Olave also did not practice. That's just some of them. We have even more. Ramondre Stevenson with an ankle didn't practice. Isaiah Pacheco with the shoulder didn't practice. And then Alexander Madison is out. So these are huge, huge impacts to everybody for these playoffs as we try and figure out how to manage our roster. Speaking of how to manage our rosters, let's get into some tough spots. We are facing tough spots just like all of you. Let's talk about some of the areas right now where each of us are struggling to make decisions, especially in some of our leagues. We start with you, Andy Behrens. What do you got as a tough spot you're looking at?
Yeah, so I got a home league. It's one of these like college buddies league, right? And because of my chosen profession, basically I get no credit when I win in this thing, and I hear about it for like a decade when I lose. So I hate to lose in this league. And I'm like, I have a good team, but I lost Justin Herbert. So my quarterback options, I've had Kyler Murray on the roster, and he only has one bad spot left this season, but it's right now against San Francisco, and I don't want to play him. I have added both of the Seahawks quarterbacks, not knowing who's going to go. I've got Geno, I've got Drew Lock. I want to pick on that Philly matchup, right? Because they keep coughing up like QB1 and QB2 overall weeks all season. I really want to pick on that, but I also don't want to get stuck playing Drew Lock on Monday night. What do I do?
I mean, Harmon, to me, when you start looking at that, how bad that Eagles defense has been, even Drew Lock can't screw that up, right? Like, I feel like I have faith in this point in the weapons and who they're taking on. Like, he is throwing to great wide receivers. I feel more comfortable with Drew Lock in that situation, as weird as that sounds.
Even Drew Lock can't screw that up. I do like that logic there. That does stand out for me. You know, honestly, yeah, Drew Lock wasn't that bad. You look back at it last week, 17.3 fantasy points against the 49ers. So I actually kind of think you go with that Seattle quarterback tandem there, because if it's Geno, I feel really good about it in the matchup. And even Drew Lock, like we just said, 8.7 yards per attempt. Yeah, 2 picks. I mean, that's going to happen when it's Drew Lock. But he scores a couple touchdowns there. You know, these are good receivers. That's where I'd go with this one, Andy.
Yeah, I love the receivers so much. Are we doing it? We're all taking a look at this. The team is helping. If you win, it's all because of us. If you lose, why'd you listen to us in the first place? I mean, I think that's the only fair logic. Okay, so I'll go next on one. And look, I feel like the funny thing is you mentioned that because of what you do, this is the first year where I feel like I'm being held to a standard because of this show that's really impossible to meet. And I'm doing well in most of my leagues, but the one league that always comes up on this show is sort of the one that ends up at the parent-teacher conference all the time. I am stuck. There's nobody available for me to add, and I'm stuck in this league where I can't do anything about it. I got a flex play, and it's either got to be Kareem Hunt or Jahan Dotson. I got nothing else. I literally have no other way to go. And I got myself in this situation. I understand that. But I don't trust, like every week I feel like, well, you know, the volume means that Jahan Dotson's going to do something. And every week he does nothing for me. And then it feels like the weeks that I don't put Kareem Hunt in, he scores like 7 points. And the funny thing is, in my projection right now, I am projected to win by 1. So I need whatever I'm going to get from whoever plays here. So I don't know, Andy, what do I do?
Yeah, if this is me, I'm going Hunt. It's not an ideal matchup, but I feel like he has a better shot to find the end zone. Like you kind of nailed it with Washington. Even though they put the ball in the air like 45 times a game, it is a perfectly even distribution. It is an annoyingly even distribution, right? The running backs get involved, like 3rd, 4th, 5th receivers get involved. So there's no way that you can bank on 5 or 6 targets for Dotson. I'd play Hunt. It feels like he's going to be healthy for this one.
Oh, Matt, you're not. No. Oh, God, I'm split.
This is me. Look, we know Dotson's a good player. I know this year has been very frustrating because Sam Howell's putting up all those empty calorie passing yards, but that is what they are, empty calorie passing yards. The Commanders would pick top 5 in the draft if the season ended today. So whoop-de-freaking-do on the passing yards for Sam Howell. It's not a good offense. It's not a good situation. I've railed on it on this show, but your Bears, Andy, how dare you disrespect your Bears, who are second in rushing success rate allowed since week 7? Like, Phil Snow, that's your hero. Phil Snow is the new defensive assistant there I mean, he's got to be hang the banner for Phil Snow in Chicago at this point, and Montez Sweat. These two guys have changed around that Bears defense there. They're great against the run. I don't see the Cleveland Browns establishing a good run game against that team. And meanwhile, yeah, it's a 50.5 point over-under in the Washington Rams game. Obviously, the Rams are going to be doing most of the damage there, but Dotson, he's too good to go quietly into the night.
You guys have done nothing but make me feel more conflicted. I don't know. I'm going to flip a coin. Matt, your turn. What do you got for us?
Well, I do want to just give us some credit here. Shout out to us, because we didn't come here with the questions, you know, that we sometimes get from people like, should I start Jamar Chase or Puka Nacua or all these great players? Which one should I pick from? We came here with some real muck and mire situations, and I'm too ashamed to admit my actual biggest problem, which is in a Superflex league. I'm not going to talk about that, but I will talk about in a deep dynasty league that I really want to win. I've been very close, been like the Bills, very close in this league for a while. I'm trying to win it. So my debate this week for the final flex spot, Gus Edwards, who I feel like is getting back in the end zone this week, right? I'm going to do the qualifier that Andy hates. I feel like he's getting back in the end zone. Bad Jag secondary. The passing game gets him down there. Gus is going to bang it in. Michael Gallup in what could be a high-scoring game, coming off a nice game. Or Andy, Taysom Hill is my final option. Do I just suck it up and play Taysom Hill, or do I trust this weird feeling I have with Gus Edwards, or do I go with the high-scoring game and Michael Gallup?
My God, suck it up! This is Taysom Hill we're talking about. I anointed him a hero in the previous block. Come on, you have the privilege of starting Taysom Hill in this one. This isn't tough. This one's okay.
What if I play Taysom Hill over Kyle Pitts at tight end, which I just should probably do? What do I do then between Gallup and Gus? I'm just hijacking.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. You should definitely play Taysom Hill over Kyle Pitts. What are we doing starting Kyle Pitts? Like, I get it in Dynasty, but come on. You're going Gus.
Like it's Taysom Hill all the time, because I have him in my leagues and I need it to be spectacular. Okay, we'll keep taking your questions. We've helped each other, I think, but you know that we always turn to the fantasy community, and we will do that again now. Kendall Valenzuela from My Fantasy Life joins Andy this week to talk craziness at the quarterback position. Y'all take it away.
Yeah, we are very lucky to land Kendall Valenzuela as a guest this week, because she's one of the busiest and hardest working people in the business. You can find her all over the place at Fantasy Life, on the site, on the app, in the newsletter. You can listen to her on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Follow her at KValenzuela17 on X. Kendall, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you spend a fair amount of your work week dealing with Pete Overzet, very high maintenance, one of the biggest egos in the fantasy space, I'll say. So it must be such a relief to be here. I heard you guys talking earlier in the week on the radio about some of these various like sketchy backup quarterbacks that we're all forced to start this week that we're plugging into fantasy lineups. So let me just throw out some names and get your thoughts on each of them. I think that I'm playing all of these guys somewhere. Let's start with Jake Browning on Saturday against Minnesota.
Yeah, Jay, first of all, let me tell everyone who's listening, watching, whatever, I'm so sorry if you have to go through this, because no one should have to go through this going into the fantasy playoffs. I just have to start there. I'm so sorry. But Jake Browning is interesting to me because over the past 2 games, right, you can see 25.7 fantasy points averaged in the past 2, and that's pretty good, right? So you say to yourself, okay, maybe this is going to be a good spot to start Jake Browning. But man, this Vikings defense too, they're playing some of the best defense that they have in a really long time. Brian Flores is thriving. Since week 6, the Vikings defense ranks first in points per drive and red zone percentage. And so you kind of look at the quarterbacks. No quarterback has finished inside the top 10 against Minnesota since week 3. So I like Jake Browning in this spot. I think out of anyone, we're probably going to talk about the most to stream this weekend. But it's definitely one of those situations where you're kind of sick to your stomach and you're like, okay, we're just going to go with Jake Browning this weekend and kind of hope it works out.
Yeah, I have to play Browning in a league that I'm like emotionally attached to, so I'm dreading it right now. How about Joe Flacco against my Bears?
Can you believe in 2023 that we're talking about Joe Flacco going into the fantasy playoffs, going into Week 15? I think it's beautiful. That's why we play fantasy football. You know what? I think he has been really solid these past couple games. You saw a 20-point fantasy outing last week, and I think I say to myself, I think that that's going to maybe come down a little bit. I think the success has been more due to the volume that you're seeing rather than how efficient he's been. But I think he's a solid pick. Again, another defense though that's really coming up, and you're saying, okay, look at this Bears defense. How are they doing? They're 5th in EPA allowed per play defensively since week 7. So I think Joe Flacco is the best quarterback that the Bears have on their team right now, which is saying a lot. We won't go there, but I do believe that maybe he comes back down to earth just a little bit. But again, a good streamer if you need it. Again, we're in really tough spots with Justin Herbert out officially for the rest of the season. We also have quarterback changes, so sometimes you have to go there. I know I have to go there at least once this week.
Back to the Saturday slate. How about Nick Mullins? So he's got great receivers, right? We like Addison, we like Hawkinson, we like Justin Jefferson. Is that enough? That and a good matchup against Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think it's kind of enough. I think you can tell yourself a story where when you play him, you're not as sick to your stomach, right? Unless you're starting, an Aiden O'Connell, it's a little bit better. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to be positive here. No, I think Mullins is really interesting because I do think that he gives this team a better chance to win, and I think that's what they saw when they saw Josh Dobbs. At the beginning of the week, if you asked me on Monday, I would have said, no, I don't like this. I think Josh Dobbs can do it. But, I mean, Mullins has thrown for 250-plus yards in 65% of his NFL starts. I think that if you look at him and you think he can stabilize this team, which I agree that he can, you've got Justin Jefferson back. You've got really good weapons. I think I'm okay to start him in this spot. I think it could be a little bit shaky, but all of these guys are. So if you're looking at it, at least you have J. Jeff out there, right? At least you have Hawkinson. At least you have some of these really good weapons where you know that he can turn to.
Okay, last thing, I'm going to ask you to pick one of the New York quarterbacks, right? They've both been a carnival ride. DeVito or Wilson, who do you got?
Gosh, give me DeVito because then at least we can do the finger thing, right? We can at least do this. That's the only reason, because I will feel better if I lose with DeVito and his happiness and his whole family around than I will with a Zach Wilson-led Jets team. That's where I'm going.
Oh, that's all the analysis I need. Huge thank you for joining us, Kendall. That was awesome. Again, find her work on Fantasy Life, the site, the app, the newsletter, the radio show, all of it. She's everywhere all at once. Now we're going to send it back to Fitz and Matt for a little face-off.
By the way, I can't. Great job by you guys. I can't unsee the whole Tommy Cutlets wearing 15. He looks like Jeff Hostetler with the old Giants jersey. I just can't do anything with it. All right, Matt, you know what time it is. It's fantasy face-off time, all right? We're going to give you a this or that as we break down this player or a group of other options. And this week's this or that is Odell Beckham Jr. So I'll give you Odell Beckham Jr. in this hand, and then over here I will come offer you T. Higgins. Who you got?
Yeah, first of all, let me just say the case for Beckham right now, and by the way, I love the fact that we're talking about Beckham because this guy at his peak with the Giants was, I think, just an unbelievable, like a legendary football player. He still owns 2 of the top 4 success rate versus man coverage scores that I've charted for reception perception since 2014. He still owns the best success rate versus press from those Giant days. Like it's a real like what could have been sort of thing with Odell Beckham if there hadn't been injuries. But we're seeing right now he's 5th on the Ravens in routes run since week 10, and he's 1st in receiving yards. They've got a really good less is more approach with him right now. And for that reason, among the fact that like he's got a great matchup this week, I am taking him over T. Higgins here for sure to start this one off.
I love that breakdown on the numbers and the analytics and the effectiveness of that. That's really smart by you. Odell Beckham Jr. then, or Adam Thielen, who earlier this season felt unstoppable, now feels stoppable. Where are you?
No, yeah, it is definitely in the battle of old man receivers. Give me Odell Beckham here. The usage for Adam Thielen has been trending down, and honestly, like it should be. The Panthers are kind of trying to get Jonathan Mingo involved. He's a rookie. He's part of the future, and honestly, these guys probably should be playing in the same position anyways, which is maybe not such great planning by the Panthers front office. So I will go Odell Beckham on an offense that is actually NFL caliber.
All right, so let's go Odell Beckham Jr. or Tyler Lockett.
Ooh, this is where I think the OBJ train stops. Look, Tyler Lockett is still a very effective receiver. I, like Andy, am very interested in how that passing game performs against a very beatable Philadelphia secondary on Monday Night Football. I think I'm going with Lockett over Odell. That's the first one I'll go away from the Ravens receiver here.
All right, it is time to now bring Andy Behrens back into the fold, back into the fun. And for the second straight week, I get to say num, 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 because it's time for Fantasy Feast with the Cowboys and the Bills. I don't know. I mean, if the sweater didn't prove I'm an idiot, the num, num, num really does also. Okay, so let's give everybody a Fantasy Feast on what to look for in this game. Andy Behrens, you get to go first. And feel free to say num, num, num if you want.
No, I'm good, actually. Last week we discussed Tony Pollard ahead of the Philadelphia matchup, and the basic thought there was he was fine moving forward. Workload was unchanged. He was scoring, and I think I'll still sign on to all of that. Played over 70% of the snaps in Week 14, had 96 total yards, 7 catches. All of that was promising. I just want to draw people's attention to the fact that Rico Dowdle was also involved, and he was involved early. Like, he was involved first series early. He vultured a touchdown that Pollard had placed on a tee for him, finished with a season-high 13 touches. He's also averaging 3 yards after contact per attempt. That's plenty good. Buffalo's defense ranks in the bottom half of the league overall against the run, and they allow 4.7 yards per carry. So this is a beatable group. Pollard, again, I think highly startable here, but I also think that Dowdle deserves some flex consideration.
All right, I'm going to give you something I'm looking for, and it's just a general reminder for the Bills because everybody wants to talk about the Bills like they're dead. I don't know if you've looked at this lately, but the Bills still have a very clear path to winning their division. As stunning as it sounds and as bad as things have been, when you ask what they have to play for this late in the year, look at Miami's schedule moving forward. The Dolphins have a brutal stretch coming up where they'll take on the Jets, but then they get the Cowboys, Baltimore, and Buffalo. And that Buffalo game is key because those are 3 straight juggernaut games that they'll have. In the meantime, this Bills team that is much maligned, it has Dallas right now. That's tough. Then they get the Chargers, who won't be tough, and the Patriots, who won't be tough. There is a very real situation where we walk in to a Week 17 matchup in Miami against the Bills, where the winner of that actually wins the division. So even though right now they're the 11th seed and everyone wants to leave them for dead, when you're looking for who's going to be playing like they still give a damn through the course of the end of the season, the Bills are not out of the playoff contention at all. Don't let the 11 by their name in the standings now make you think that this is a team that's going to take the foot off the gas. All right, Matt Harmon, give us something you're looking for.
Yeah, as
you
they're
can
making
say num,
that
num, num
playoff,
if you want.
I'm all set, buddy. That's you. I don't want to take away from your greatness. Listen, as the Bills are making that playoff push, I asked last week in Enough already, like, are we sure they didn't need to fire offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey? Like, I would like to actually investigate the reasons why they might have done that. I talked about some of maybe the emotional ones last week. I also think so far under Joe Brady, there's been some more intentional usage of some of these guys that weren't quite getting activated that, the front office had a plan for. Maybe there was like a miscommunication between why did we draft James Cook versus the usage that he's been getting. And over the last 3 games with Joe Brady, James Cook, the routes are actually down. He's actually run fewer routes per game under Joe Brady. However, James Cook is second on the Bills with 169 receiving yards since Joe Brady took over, and he's been targeted on 36% of his routes. So it wasn't just like, all right, we have a passing down back, like he'll just be down there as a check down option. Josh Allen's not going to take the check down, okay? You need to actually design some plays for him, or empower Josh Allen like we saw last week against Kansas City. You go out there and say, hey, James Cook, this is a favorable look. Go out and run the wheel route here, and I'm going to hit you for a big play, which is exactly what we saw. So James Cook has quietly emerged as the Stephon Diggs counterpunch under Joe Brady, not any of these other pass catchers, which I think is obviously has been great for his fantasy value.
All right, let's get you guys some help. It's my favorite time of the week. Every single week, it is time to run the hurry-up offense. This is where we get to dink and dunk our way down the fields with the 25-second clock put up there, and we will start. We're going to make Andy go first. We bring up the hurry-up offense. Pete says, half PPR. Would you start Devontae or Puka in the flex? Hashtag AskFFL. Andy Behrens, what do you got?
You kidding me? I have a chance to not get invested in this Thursday night game between the Chargers and Raiders. I'm going to take advantage of that. Give me Puka all day. He's got a great matchup against Washington. It's a super friendly defense that got worse at the trade deadline. We definitely want Puka here.
What's it feel like to not be invested in this game tonight? Must be nice. All right, next up, the 40 count says Hollywood Brown or Jaden Reed, full PPR. I like the matchup for Reed, but that's the only concern I have here. All right, what do you think, Matt?
Why is that a concern? I mean, I get it. Like, I'm a big Jaden Reed guy, you know, and I even last week on Monday Night Football is kind of like, enough already with the Jaden Reed, like, behind the line of scrimmage rush attempt stuff. Let's get him some downfield looks. I think that should certainly happen against a very beatable Buccaneers secondary. That's my pick.
Oh, got it in before the wire. That is well done. Everybody watches this show, including Christ. Says Jamison Williams or Jordan Addison in half PPR, says he. Andy Behrens, what do you think?
we need to clean up our act, guys.
Yeah, seriously, how about it? I wish I had a little notice about that much earlier in the season, like months ago. It's not going to be Jamison Williams for me. He's getting like 2 or 3 touches a week, right? That's just not enough. I get that Jordan Addison has been relatively quiet, but come on.
I don't know if you can have a flag thrown on you when Christ asks a question. All right, moving on quickly. Matt says, Dre wants to know, Hall or Cook, half PPR. What do you got, Harmon?
Yeah, this is one of those where, am I getting invested in, Zach Wilson's explosive offense from last week, or actually just the Buffalo Bills offense in one of the highest scoring projected games of the week? Mentioned that James Cook receiving usage. That's the way I'm going to go here.
All right, with time to spare, no less, let's get the next one coming up from Jess C., who says, Keenan A. out. Need to start Deontay Johnson, Drake London, or Jordan Addison. What do you think on that one, Andy?
I love that they have to explain who's missing, so this is their question. These are the bad. Sorry, I would have never drafted these bad names, but Keenan Allen's out. Deontay's been a little bit dinged. Sounds like he's going to go this week. I'm going to play Drake London. Drake London is coming off a superhero game, and maybe there's a little recency bias, but my God, he looked good.
Oh, I can't believe we're saying that about the Falcon. Okay, so let's move on next to Forrest coming in saying, can I start D Swift with any confidence? I could James Conner instead, but he's got a bad matchup with Sanford. Who should I start with a emoji there? What do you think, Matt?
Forrest, man. Yeah, I don't know if you can start DeAndre Swift with any confidence, and Andy knows this, talking about him in the panic meter recently. But I think that's probably the play here. Good matchup, better offense. I'm pretty concerned about the Cardinals.
All right, next up, we get the next question from JT. Says, half PPR league, need a flex. Zeke, Amari Cooper, OBJ, Robinson, hashtag AskFFL. What do you think, Andy Behrens?
Yeah, the 2 options here for me are Zeke and OBJ. It's wild, right? Where this is 2023, and I'm talking about Zeke Elliott and OBJ here. I think I'm going to go OBJ. It's a great matchup against Jacksonville. They've just been getting roasted week after week lately. So give me Beckham in this one.
Okay, let's get the next question in coming to Matt Harmon. C says Titans D versus no Stroud, or New Orleans versus the Giants. Titans D versus Houston would be more accurate. What do you got, Harmon?
Yo, man, we're staying away from the fighting Tommy DeVitos here. Okay, let's not do that. We've seen Davis Mills play football before. Okay, like without Nico Collins, without Tank Dell, and now CJ Stroud's probably going to be out. It's like that's looking like the old Texans with Robert Woods there. So yeah, Titans D for me.
By the way, the Titans wearing the old Oilers jerseys for that matchup this weekend. That is the ultimate trolling. Tabitha coming in saying, first round is 4 seed, need 1, full PPR, flex, Jay Ford, Sutton, Chandler, or Johnson, hashtag AskFFL. Andy Behrens, what do you think?
I'd love to know who the receivers are because I want to play Sutton. He's been basically a touchdown a week, but I have to start Chandler here. He gets a great matchup, obviously, against Cincinnati, and no Alexander Madison this week, so we're looking at 20, 25 touches for Chandler. You got to go with that.
I love the fact that this time you wanted more information. Bill says, half-point PPR. Flex choices are Moss, Mostert, Ayuk, A. Jones, hashtag AskFFL. We'll ask Matt Harmon. What do you think?
Yeah, thanks for including Aaron Jones here as like a little gratuity type situation because he's definitely not in consideration. Really, neither is Zach Moss. I mean, this is mostly between Mostert and Ayuk, and I think the Dolphins are on upset watch, so I'm going to go Ayuk here against the Cardinals.
Now, can you be on upset watch after you got beat by the Titans? Good Lord. All right.
No, they're 8.5 favorites. They're 8.5 favorites over the Jets. It's outrageous.
That is wild. Full PPR, Jaden Reed, Najee Harris, Brandon Cooks, JSN. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I think Najee Harris here, and I know it's not exciting. Nobody wants to start Najee Harris. We saw him as somebody's bust earlier, but come on, he's still getting like 60% of the backfield work. He's got a great matchup against the Colts. He's probably the player here with the greatest shot at finding the end zone. So give me Najee.
Yeah, by the way, you can't let the perceived disappointment weigh the conversation right now. You're right about that. All right, Hot Stove Steve. Never put your hand on Hot Stove, Steve. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devonta Smith, or Jake Browning for Superflex. What do you think, Harmon?
What does the rest of this person's roster look like? I mean, that they can't play these other players. Also, shame on you for having both Lions backs. You did that to yourself, okay? I actually am pretty stumped. I'm pretty stumped. I'll go Gibbs, I guess. I don't know.
That might be the first time all year. That's the first time all year Harmon's been stumped. And by the way, what are you, in like a 3-person league? Jordan said, win and I'm in. Rashad White, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Javonte Williams. What do you think, Andy?
Oh, I think Rashad White has been a hero, and he gets a pretty friendly matchup this week against the Packers. I want that. All these other players are perfectly fine. Nico Collins a little bit banged up right now, but I want White. He's a guaranteed touchdown.
I'm still like just shooketh by the last question that came in. I mean, what were there 3 teams there? All right, that's it for us. Obviously, you can hang up. Yeah, that'll do it for this edition. Check back Sunday morning for the latest on player injuries, and our own Scott Pianowski will be answering your last-minute lineup questions on social media at #AskFFL. Good luck in Week 15.
I didn't expect you to
We'll see you next week.
Since you are, I wrote a song for you. Feel free to sing along. I won this league. Now you see that you're never gonna live it down. I won this league. Cause you never turn your season around. I live rent free in your head all year round. I won this league. And now I run this town.